Now what do you think you're doing?
You don't want to get hurt. Keep your mouth shut. Don't move a fucking muscle.
The chimps are infected. They're highly contagious. They've been given an inhibitor.
Infected with what?
To cure, you must first understand.
Infected with what?
Rage.
What the fuck is talking about? Get the gates open.
No!
Listen, you sick bastard. We're going and we're taking your torture victims with us. You're going to get you out of here.
The animals are contagious. The infection is in their blood and saliva. One bite. Stop! You've no idea!
Rioting and looting spread throughout England as Prime Minister Tony Blair has still not issued a statement on the situation. In the last 12 hours, it has been reported that the rioting has caused mass casualties, even into the thousands. People have been found dead on the streets while mobs continue to cause violence. Earlier, rioting and protests in Cambridge, thought to be an anti-government protest, started to raise a certain degree of question onto why this happened so quickly, and why did the protests become so violent. All of these questions are yet to be determined. Meanwhile, the rioting only gets more violent and aggressive. The rioting and looting has spread to the capital, as well as the surrounding areas of London and Cambridge. Buildings and cars have been seen set alight by the mobs. The Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, has came out on the situation, saying that the government needs to do more for policing.
We've had rioting in the past in London in the 1980s when we had a recession, but we haven't had this spread of it. And I think, we've got police numbers up to 32,000, and we thought that would cope. But I think the government's going to have to review the policy of cutting. They're planning to cut almost 2,000 police in London. There's just no way you can police London with this sort of problem going on and have police cuts at the same time.
Well, but you couldn't police this even if you didn't have cuts.
You've got to maintain policing. The police have had a real battering to their morale with the commissioner going, all the scandals about News International. But also there's this threat. At the moment, all the neighbourhood sergeants, 600 of them, being forced to reapply for their jobs. The police have got to be confident the government stands behind them. And when you're talking about cutting nearly 2,000 police, they don't feel that.
Right, you brought in, so you're blaming the government.
It's got to be for the city when it's not going wrong. What people need is the reassurance. It's that reassurance. I think a lot of these young people, they are criminals, yes. But there's a disengagement. They feel no one at the top of society, in government or city hall, cares about them or speaks for them. They have no prospect of a job.
We are at the moment receiving unconfirmed reports that London has been sealed off by the military, who were mobilised 2 days ago. We now have this report from central London, which was recorded in the early hours of the morning.
Riots have been happening all day. Nobody seems to know what the cause of the violence is. Emergency services are at full stretch, and riot police have engaged in dangerous street battles with violent mobs. Today the military was said to have been dispatched, and they've sealed off most of London as far as the M25 motorway. But we don't know why that's happened. People are scared. People are terrified.
We're joined in our studio now by Alec Charles, spokesman for the Ministry of Defence. Mr. Charles, thank you for joining us. Now, do you think the military's handling of the current crisis has been sufficient?
Yes, our response to the crisis has been swift. We've been working hard to bring the situation under control, and we're doing everything possible to contain the problem. I can confirm that a buffer zone has been set up around London.
Yes, but Mr. Charles, the government has been heavily criticised for not redeploying military units stationed overseas here in the UK. Now, these troops account for a large percentage of our military strength. In light of the worsening situation, will this option now be reconsidered?
Our forces overseas will remain exactly where they are. Our commitments haven't changed, and we've assured the international community that Britain will not be bringing her troops back home. We're confident that here in Britain, we can restore law and order with our existing level of troops.
Well, surely, Mr. Charles, this can't be the case. Many people see the creation of this buffer zone as a clear indication that the military have in fact lost control and that millions of people are being abandoned.
That is absolutely not the case. We've installed martial law across the whole of the south of England. There's a 24-hour curfew in place. People have to stay at home for their own safety's sake until this problem has passed.
Now, we've had unconfirmed reports that all military units and emergency service personnel currently operating south of this buffer zone have in fact been ordered to withdraw. Now, how can you possibly expect to maintain a curfew if any kind of law enforcement has been withdrawn from this area?
The gangs of rioters in their thousands are swarming through the streets at the moment. They're destroying buildings, they're attacking people indiscriminately. At the moment, we're in a strong position to stop the violence in its tracks. We've got the buffer zone in place, and that acts as a vacuum between the rioters and the rest of the country, enabling us to control and contain the violence, which is our highest priority.
I'm sorry, Mr. Charles, I'm unsure exactly what it is you're saying. Are you trying to say to me that we're dealing with a breakdown of law and order, or is this in fact a pandemic?
We're not sure at the moment.
Okay, well, I think we'll have to end it there. But thank you for your time. We'll try and pick that one up again later just to see how the evacuation is getting on. We apologise for any technical difficulties. In the past hour, the Home Secretary has held an emergency press briefing at a secret location in order to clarify the government's stance on the continuing violence.
As you've been watching on today's emergency news broadcasts, there has been widespread public disorder and rioting across large parts of the south of England. The situation appears to be a repetition of the civil disorder. The cause of this widespread violence is as yet unknown, but it's become apparent that some form of virus may be responsible. Reports from hospitals in the affected areas are so far reporting large increases in people being admitted with severe injuries attributed to the widespread violence and rioting, suggesting that whatever the cause of this breakdown in law and order, the risk to health from the virus is minimal. At this exact moment, a team of government scientists are on their way to the affected areas to carry out further investigations into the causes and origin of the outbreaks. In order to contain the escalating situation and maintain law and order, we have declared a national state of emergency, implemented martial law in a number of areas, and introduced a curfew effective from 7 p.m. tonight. We urge members of the public to comply with these measures for their own safety and to assist the emergency services with the aid of the military to control the situation. We would like to reassure the public that this is a short-term measure which will be revoked as soon as the situation stabilizes. Details of all areas will be shown following this statement. If you are in one of the worst affected areas and concerned for your own safety, we have set up emergency evacuation centres under the control of the armed forces. Details of these centres will also be shown after this statement. I'm sorry.
We now go to an emergency press conference by the Centre for Medical Disease Control.
It was announced earlier today that government scientists have been dispatched to affected areas to conduct further tests. Once again, we urge members of the public in affected areas to avoid hospitals and not to seek medical attention, other than that provided at the nearest evacuation center set up by the military. At this point, we believe a virus is responsible for the violence. The number of cases is now thought to be in the thousands, and we believe it is now spread beyond the military's buffer zones. Anyone infected with this virus will attack those unaffected on sight. I can only urge members of the public to stay in their homes and avoid contact with anyone you suspect carrying this virus. At this point, we do believe the only method of contraction is through direct contact with an infected individual. Many of those patients admitted to the hospitals or who have reported to evacuation centers have been carrying terrible injuries, the most common being bite marks and deep lacerations. So at this point, we believe the virus is spread through either the blood or saliva of the affected.
It's next door. It's Jim and Dot springing from the chandeliers again.
Dorothy, you alright? Dorothy!
Don't come in.
Dorothy, what's happened? What's happened?
In trying to negotiate that blooming ladder, I slipped and fell on the floor. That's what's happened. My wrist is gone.
Oh, let's have a look at it.
No. Look, this ain't going to work, Jim.
Please listen to the following information. Evacuations are taking place around the London area. Refuge camps are located in the following locations: Vicarage Road Stadium, Watford; Mark Hall Sports Centre, Harlow; Brentwood Community Hospital, Brentwood; Salt Hill Activity Centre, Slough; Gatwick Airport, Crawley; Lullingstone Country Park, Ainsford. If you have limited access to travel, you will unfortunately not be able to attend the refuge camps, as public travelling is strictly advised against. All London bus train services have been temporarily discontinued, including C2C routes towards Essex. London Underground stations are being used for military use only. It is strictly advised that you evacuate the London area. Motorways are being used for military use only. This is the end of this message.
We're now joined by Professor Peter Kentworth, a former government advisor on emergency internal affairs. Peter, in light of events in the past 24 hours, do you think the government has handled the ongoing crisis well?
Well, I think the key to the question, Richard, is 24 hours. This epidemic has gripped the whole of England in just over 24 hours. I mean, this situation is unprecedented. We now know that we are facing a pandemic.
Yes, but we've experienced epidemics and pandemics before. So what's so different about this? I mean, how has it spread so fast?
Well, I'm afraid I can't actually answer that. We have had very little information about the virus, apart from a few key symptoms, which are quite frankly horrifying to say the least. We're not even sure if it is a virus. Look, if you look back at past pandemics such as swine flu, it took months for it to spread around the globe, and vaccines and treatments were available. I mean, this has simply spread too fast for anything like this to be put in place.
When you talk of horrifying symptoms there, what are you referring to exactly?
Well, it's obvious that the mass rioters and lawless mobs that are being widely reported in our major towns and cities are people affected with the virus.
Are you suggesting then that the virus has differing effects on different people?
Well, I think the only conclusion that we can draw is that every single one of these rioters has contracted the virus. There simply is no other conclusion.
Do you think the military will be able to contain the situation?
Well, I think after the events we've witnessed today, at the speed that the virus is spreading, despite the military's best efforts, I'm afraid it will spread to the rest of the country within 48 hours.
Peter, what would you say to worried members of the public watching this at home? I mean, what should they do?
Well, what we need is for everyone to stay inside, no matter how serious the situation may get. This curfew should be implemented nationwide to slow down the speed of the virus. However, widespread panic has set in and people are trying to escape the chaos, which is only going to speed up the spread of the virus. Look, I'd say this to everyone out there. Please, do not...
Please listen to the following information. Refuge outputs have been overrun by the infected. It is extremely not recommended that you travel to the outputs as they are now unsuitable for the public. The most dangerous areas are Cambridge, London, Luton, Peterborough, Leicester, Birmingham, Coventry, Derby, Oxford, Swindon, Bristol, Brighton, and Cardiff. These areas have reported over 250,000 cases. Army blockades on the M25 have been overrun. It is extremely advised that you stay in your homes. Prepare for long-lasting power cuts and a seizure of gas suppliants. They will be used for military use. Gather essential items such as bottled water, canned food, a battery radio, and a deadly weapon. It is too late for evacuations. Any attempt to leave mainland Britain will be met with brutal force. If you may feel that someone you know is infected, don't be afraid to execute them. The symptoms of the contagion are extreme spasms, red sclera irises, vomiting blood, uncontrollable rage, bleeding eyes, memory loss. If you show any of these symptoms, it is in best morality to commit suicide.
Again, this is BBC Radio 1, recording from a protected location. I have just gotten word that reports of the rage virus have appeared in New York and Paris. These allegations are not confirmed. The military have ordered a blockade around the city of Manchester, but I don't know how long that will hold up for. The whole city of London is chaotic to see.